So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Eazy Conversations. Thanks a lot to everyone who listened to the last episode featuring the homie Matt and I. Hope you enjoyed listening to us do our trivia showdown, answering some NHL draft questions, some movie questions. Hope we hit you with some stumpers and that you were able to play along as we did. So, now for episode 140 of Eazy Conversations, I'm extremely excited, of course, to be back in the studio virtually with the homie Matt. Say what's up to the people.
What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a great day right now. Big episode tonight for two reasons. We're hitting the 140 mark. That's crazy. Like we're getting halfway to 200. It's really exciting. And it's Eric's first episode as a married man, which is very exciting. Eric, just want to quickly say before we get into our topic, I had a blast at your wedding. It was amazing. Best wedding venue I've ever been to. It was picturesque, beautiful. Can talk about, well, I'm sure we'll bring up your wedding more in like other episodes. And anyways, I had a blast, Eric. Today's episode, why don't you tell everybody what we're going to be talking about, Eric?
Yeah, definitely. Now you got me wanting to talk about the wedding again there, which I could do for hours on end, so we'd be here all night and we wouldn't even get to our topic for the episode. But no, I'm glad you had a good time, Matt. It was just incredible to get to celebrate with everybody, and that it was a honestly perfect day. Couldn't have gone better, in my opinion, and super happy. So, yeah, first episode, Married Man. We'll see if I get better at this, get worse. We'll see. I don't know. I'm going to say better. I think the best is yet to come as we approach the 200s, like you said. Crazy 140. So, yeah, for this episode, House of the Dragon Season 2 recap. Like we promised, we did our mid-season analysis a few episodes ago. Now we're circling back. The season's done. And we'll look ahead to the future of these Game of Thrones shows. There's a few of them I want to talk about. But for season 2, House of the Dragon, just going to open by saying not exactly the vibe that I thought we would be, well, that I would have anyways, coming into this episode to recap the season. Because on a week-to-week basis, I was loving the show. And honestly, where we ended, it was episode 3 where we had done our recap, and then episode 4 ended up being the best episode of the entire show up until that point, in my opinion. Rook's Rest, with the big battle at the end of the episode there with Rhaenys and Aemond and Aegon, blew me away, and that moment led me to believe that we would see other, maybe not to that exact scale of epicness, but other big jaw-dropping moments in the rest of season 2, and we truly did not. And the consensus online anyways that season 2 finale was an absolute stinker. It was a letdown. And my thoughts now when I look back on the season, now that it's all done, is that ultimately we were promised a season where there'd be a lot happening, a lot of action, conflict between the two sides, and that we'd get the payoffs of the 2-year wait from season 1 to now would be, like I said, a lot of action, a lot of craziness happening. And other than that, episode 4, there really was not much of that at all. This was a full-on tease setup season that now promises us a bombastic season 3. But I feel like a lot of people are going to be returning to season 3 when that comes out in 2 years with a bit of a sour taste in their mouths and won't really know whether or not to trust House of the Dragon to deliver on what they hope they will get. So that's kind of my opening thoughts on the season now that's wrapped up. There's a lot that I love, though, don't get me wrong. That's kind of where season 2 ending, bit of a letdown. What are your thoughts on that, Matt?
You said it beautifully, Eric. I share my thoughts with you in the sense that I loved some of the stuff in House of the Dragon season 2, but ultimately, I feel like enjoyability factor. If this was a graph, it'd be like a mountain, up and down and peaking at episode 4, like you said. Episode 4 got me really pumped, got everyone pumped, but then it was like a sharp decline for the last 4 episodes. Episode 8, the finale did not feel like a season finale. It just felt like a filler episode for more to come. The action we got in the last 4 episodes and in the first 3, the action are conversations and intense debate and minor, deaths, like smaller characters dying, not characters that are consequential to the story. So ultimately, I was disappointed with this season, actually, if I'm going to be honest. And like you said, it's a filler season, a tease just to the awesomeness that they're going to probably promise us for season 3 with a lot more dragon action. This season basically felt like the last half of the season was Rhaenyra gearing up more, like getting more dragons in her arsenal, adding more of those. That's all. Like it felt. That's all that I felt happen in the last 3 episodes, and characters just like establishing their position and what they're going to be doing in season 3. This felt like this whole season 2, Eric. I don't know if you agree with me. It felt like just like half of a season's worth of content. Like this could have been condensed, and we could have got more stuff. Do you agree with that?
100%. Like, and they tried to cram a lot in that last episode to make up for what they didn't do in other episodes. How much of a letdown and a very predictable outcome was that entire Corlys and Alan of Hull plot, where for the whole season these guys are having very, very short conversations on the side of that dock, and Corlys is barely really giving him an inch to establish a connection with his bastard son, only for it to air quote explode at the end, where he says like, "Oh, my whole life I saw you. You never wanted anything to do with me, and then now that you don't have any heirs, now you want me." Well, I mean, I feel like that could have been sped up a bit because it was kind of a letdown of a conversation anyways, and we didn't need all those minor scenes between the two of them where really nothing happened. Could have been one scene the first time where it's uncomfortable, and then maybe the second time that he tries to make progress, which that was another thing that was frustrating for me. Corlys he made very minimal effort to establish a bond with his son. But I agree, it's like that's a minor example to showcase how they spent too much time on the wrong things and dragged things out that could have been handled much quicker, which made for, in my opinion, it was such a Ripley style glacially paced season that not that much happened, and most of it was predictable as well. Like just the getting of the dragons, for example. We knew that they had these rogue dragons and that eventually some people had to ride them. I don't know, like it had to be at episode 7 that they figured this out. Like Daemon and Harrenhal is another example of just dragging on way too many vision episodes, sequences.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You're not just going to flip on a dime, and everyone has their path to follow to have that moment of clarity and realization, but it just felt so long. And yeah, we're going to look back at this and think like this could have been a half a season where he has these visions, and then the second half, he already has his army. We get a bit of action at Harrenhal. Why was the entire season at Harrenhal devoted to just him having these dreams, figuring out what he wants? In my opinion, wasted season for Daemon completely.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Eric. Like, episode 1, like, it's the whole 8 episodes. He's there, and what does he actually accomplish? He got what he wanted in the end, the Riverland armies, and then he's loyal to Rhaenyra at the end, bends the knee. But, like, the whole in-between was too much. So Game of Thrones has done this in the past in certain episodes that move very slowly and following 6 different storylines at a glacial pace. But the difference was, in my opinion, in Game of Thrones, it was way more compelling.
Yep.
Though the story only advanced shortly, we would always get like a banger fight scene or a cool moment, be it like Arya and the Hound at the tavern fighting, or like, yeah, those stories didn't advance fast either. Sometimes whole seasons just for Arya to move from point A to point B, but there was some compelling things in between. Like you said with Daemon, the vision stuff at night, there was too much repetition in that, and all his conversations with Alice Rivers did not need all of that in there. The Daemon storyline, maybe we should, instead of going on episodes, go on just each character's arc or storyline.
Sure.
Daemon, that was cool. I liked how it resolved itself with, like, the old Lord Paramount Tully dying, and then the young kid coming in, and he kind of bullies his way, but then the kid, when he has all the lords with him, kind of like stands firm and orders Daemon to execute Lord Blackwood. I thought that was pretty neat, and like kind of showcasing the solidarity and tradition of the Riverland lords, and how, like I said, resolved in their solidarity they are. So that was cool. And ultimately, he gets his army at the end. Again, though, all that could have been shortened. So would you place the Daemon? Was there any aspects of the Daemon storyline, Eric, that you were a fan of
I like that, like
in
you
this
just
season?
said. Yeah, I like that with the River Lords, Lord Tully, how he kind of flipped expectations on us, thinking that he'd be easy to just manipulate, but then he actually has some resolve, and even plays into his inexperience and says like, "I know I'm not old enough to be the true Lord Paramount, but I still have good judgment. And I honor the old traditions." Like he was a good character, and I hope we see more of him next season. Some of the dreams were interesting, like, namely with Viserys. Whenever we can get Paddy Constantine back in the mix, can't really complain there. I like the Alice River interactions as well. Simon Strong, great new character as well. There
Yeah.
was a lot to like there. It's just the pace and the lack of, I found, interesting things that happened overall, and the repetitiveness of it. That was my main issue.
Mm-hmm.
Had we seen a bit of action in the Riverlands, I think that could have been more interesting. Like seeing the Brackens and the Black Woods, whatever. I know they had their little spats there. The whole bit of like what's real and what's not also got old with like, is he dreaming, is he awake? Like that was, at first it kind of had me hooked and like, okay, I gotta pay attention here to make sure that what I'm seeing
Yeah.
is a dream, or if it's not. But then again, it wore off on me. And again, I do like Damon. I found he actually did have quite a few funny moments in there, like when he's trying to recruit some of them, the River Lords, and then his dragon like leaned down and like pretended, it made it seem as though the dragon was gonna eat one of the lords, and then the camera cuts away
Yeah.
and he's just like sulking. Like Matt Smith was good as Damon, as he always is, but it just, I feel like they could have done better with him for this season. So I'm anticipating a better output from him in terms of action, especially next season. And I liked how he bent the knee to Rhaenyra at the end.
Yeah.
I kind of saw that coming after he had that vision, obviously, that he was gonna abandon his plight to become king. And that again was frustrating, and that he like wants to go rogue and wants all the glory for himself. But he ended up straightening out at the end. So there are some
Yeah.
things I like,
Yeah.
but just too long.
I also like that he straightened out at the end. I will say I do sympathize with him a little bit, like wanting to be king because he's seen his brother being king his whole life, and he wants a taste of that action. It's understandable, right?
Yeah.
And he feels like maybe he could be a better leader than Rhaenyra. He's proven in battle, more experienced, older, more mature. Like he, in his head, might be the rightful ruler. And he goes like that's what we're seeing in this season. The steps, like his mind trying to wrap that around like the Viserys visions and the what I wanted to also say though is the vision when he touches the tree, like kind of that's like a flash. That's kind of a premonition of the future. I thought that was pretty cool, and I'm sure people online have dissected every image. I haven't read anything about that, so I'm not sure what all those images represent. But I thought that was cool. But again, just teasing us for future seasons. That just came on the last episode, and it's not enough to make a storyline not boring. So, yeah, Matt Smith, like Damon's one of my favorite characters. I'll just say it now. He's complex. I just didn't like the dragging on of his story, like we've said numerous times. So that was one of the frustrating parts of season 2. There's also the storyline with like one of them I didn't really like at all. Eric, was like the Alicent stuff. I don't know what you think of her in this season, but she like pivots complete, like in season 3 or 4 when they have their secret meeting. She has her secret meeting with Rhaenyra. She's super headstrong and resolved, and it's too late to change. And then by the end of the season, she's completely 180, and she just wants to go to nature and chill in the country, right? And like float in the water and just chill. Maybe the riot scared her into thinking that way, right? Like she almost lost her life. But I wasn't a big fan of her storyline. What do you think, Eric, of this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point for sure. I didn't mind her going off in the woods, just wandering with that Kingsguard, because we got into the psychology of the character to see how she is being affected by the decisions that she made, and how she pretty much set all her kids up to fail. We didn't realize the consequences of her actions, and then for her floating in the water was like kind of just being at peace with those choices that she made, and then at the end of the season being liberated and realizing like, hey, I don't have to choose this life. And I'm just kidding, man. That was the worst waste of time on screen when I was trying to see some interesting dragon action. This is what they decided to devote time, precious minutes to. It was a complete waste of time. But I mean, I feel like what I just said there might be a way that the showrunners spin zone why those scenes had to be in there. It was brutal. It was just a way to get Olivia Cook some screen time. But honestly, her character, I was not a fan of whatsoever this season. I've said it when the last time we did the episode. Horrible mother, and now she's seeing how powerless she is compared to her son Aemon, the psychopath, who now has the position that he always wanted as king, prince regent, whatever, acting king. And honestly, I don't have a whole lot to say about her character. I'm curious to see what they do with her going forward, but my interpretation at the end of the season was, and I did like how they did those shots of Rhaenyra and Alicent mirroring each other, like looking out into the distance. Rhaenyra is now focused on the war, and Alicent has the open sky in front of her and just sees that she can be free. So I wonder if we'll even see her really have a major role going forward. I don't know if they want to just get rid of Olivia Cook as an actress. I think she's good as Alicent, but she's not a big value add in terms of the story. And like I just said, if anything, she was steering us on the wrong path whenever she was on the screen. No one was interested in that. So yeah, no, not a fan at all. Don't need to see much more of her next. It's more about her kids at this point. We can maybe even pivot to them at this point now. I don't know if you had anything else to add on there for her, but that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I got too. I want to get that out of the way.
Okay.
Did you want to touch on they were teasing us in the early episodes with showing Hugh a lot and Ulf and Adam, which is Aelin's brother. Like, now we know why they were getting screen time, but what are your thoughts on this whole dragon audition, dragon writer audition? And now we know why it was necessary to show those characters, but now that they all have their dragons, like, what are your thoughts on that storyline, Eric?
Okay, so
curious.
We can loop the bastards in with the Rhaenyra story for the season 2, because them being brought into her story made it a bit more interesting. Yeah, they planted the seeds, the dragon seeds of these characters around. I didn't really know how they'd all fit in. Ulf, I wasn't even sure about if he was a real Targaryen. Like, they definitely made him seem to be some sort of a liar, right? Like, when they announced that they had the auditions, he didn't even want to go. So I'm like, has this guy just been saying he's a Targaryen this whole time and actually isn't? So there was a good element of mystery there with him. Hugh, I pieced together that he was a Targaryen around episode 5, I think. So a bit before they had the audition. I was like, I don't know when it clued, like why it clued in, but I just thought about it, like the white hair. It might have been when they said like, oh, there are Targaryens out there. I'm like, oh, maybe Hugh is one. So Alan, I didn't really see it coming that he would be a dragon. Adam, I mean, big fan of his character though. I'm pumped that he has sea smoke. Hugh, I'm pumped that he has Vermithor. I am not happy that Ulf has Silverwing. Like, I was hoping that he would get roasted alive. That guy is going to be a liability. And we can already see, I think they're setting up a Jace versus Ulf confrontation. That's my call. I think Ulf is going to flip to the other side too, to be honest. I thought he was going to flip as soon as he had the dragon and he was in King's Landing. I'm like, what is this moron doing right now? Like, I thought he was literally going over there to say, I have a dragon, and that was that. Then that hasn't really shown to be the case. But based on just how he's acting, and then contrasted to Hugh and Adam, who are proving to be more loyal to Rhaenyra, I don't like Ulf having a dragon. I also think because there's so many dragons now on the one side, this just cannot work. They can't have Vhagar be the one who Vhagar's killed 3 of the dragons, so now it's even. There has to be an evening of some sort at one point. Ulf is flipping as my call. Loved Hugh though, and I was a big fan of him early. I thought he'd be a good character. I thought he'd be a player in some capacity. Didn't see him as a dragon rider until later on. But I love that he got his dragon, saw that coming. The dragon audition was a great scene. Like that was probably my second
Yep.
favorite moment in the season, other than Rook's Rest battle. I would say that was that was the best of the season. Vermithor cooking fake Targaryens alive was unreal. What did you think of it all? Like how that played out? I liked it. The bastards.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of. I like you. I like Adam and Hugh. I'm not a fan of Ulf. He is comic relief slightly though, so that's kind of
Slightly.
funny. So episode 6, they tease us with like the Kingsguard getting cooked alive, and that's like a foreshadowing of like, all right, like it's going to be harder than we think. So I appreciate that they threw that scene in. Like you, episode 6, 7, and 8, that was a storyline that actually kept me going. Like I'm curious to see, are they going to get some bastards on there? That was fun to watch. Fun to watch even like the old guys that take care of the dragons, like them getting pissed off and their traditions. Like I like that whole sect of dragon keepers. That was cool to see. Now, when we get to episode 7 and they're acquiring the dragons, that was super compelling to watch. One of my favorite scenes, other than Rook's Rest battle, was the last shot and scene of episode 7 when Vhagar's flying towards like Dragonstone and she flexes her muscles. That was pretty epic. That gave me chills, actually. I like that. I thought that would be like, okay, episode 8's going to be amazing, but it wasn't.
Yep.
Ulf going over to the other side, that's very interesting, Eric. I never thought of that. Maybe a Vermithor Silverwing duel, like mates dueling each other. I don't think that would ever happen, though, because I think the dragons don't fight their mates, but who knows? It's a dragon. I definitely see... Now, Aemon is by himself with Vhagar, who is the largest dragon, slightly over Vermithor, but I can see him convincing Helena to join him. And I can also see Vhagar being like, yes, he's only one, but he only has to fight the dragons one at a time. They're going to have to make sure that all those other dragons stay in a pact and don't get isolated, because Vhagar can pick them all off one by one like a strategist. Aemon is more on Aemon later, but he can do it, man. He can do it. Again, like that Rhaenyra dragon storyline, super interesting in the second half of the season. First half of the season, wasn't a fan of Rhaenyra, honestly, Eric.
Same.
She was kind of weak for the first 2 episodes, moping around, not showing strength or anything. Think about when one of the twin attacks her in episode 2. She was very weak and meek. She kind of turns it around in the second half and became one of my favorite characters to watch. She was super firm with Jace, putting him in his place. Like, this is what we're doing. We need the dragons. She was authoritative and flies to Harrenhal when she hears about Daemon, what he's doing, thanks to a Sir Simon Strong message. He flies out there right away, and Simon Strong. Yeah, I like his character too. I like that she did that and was firm. That's all we ask out of a good leader. Just be yourself. Be authoritative, and don't be a fence sitter. Make a freaking decision. And she was that person in the later half of the season. So I quite enjoyed her character and storyline. And she's leaning towards more cruelty now, I think, at the end of season 2. Like, it needs to be done. We need to shed some blood now, which wasn't her stance in season 1. She was very passive. In season 2, at the beginning, she was very passive. So, yeah. So were you a fan of Rhaenyra too, Eric, in the second half?
Yeah, same thing as you. I thought it was a slow start for her for sure, which again was surprising based on how season 1 ends with her mourning the loss of her son and turns around with a pissed off look on her face, making us all think like, all right, we're going to war here. And it pretty much took a whole season to actually get to maybe going to war now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, she was definitely more authoritative at the end, feeling herself a little more now that she has more dragons and dragon riders on her side. But again, I still think she was kind of weak in the sense that she's just letting Ulf talk this shit to her at the dinner table, which was absolutely unrealistic as it gets, and as much as we can be talking about unrealistic in a show about dragons and magic and stuff. But come on, man. Like, this guy was actually driving me nuts. How he's got his feet up at the table, like, oh, can I have some more quail, please, love? He's like smacking these girls. Anyway, I hated it. I hated him at that scene. Like, when he was kind of being just disrespectful to Jace. You can kind of see it. He's a little kid. But to your queen, who just gave you the opportunity of a lifetime by gift wrapping you this dragon, this is how you're going to behave. Like, you can spin me on the fact that he's a commoner and he doesn't have manners and stuff, but come on. Like, Adam of Hull can dial it in. Hugh has a couple of table side manners. Like, you can fake it till you
Yeah.
make it, I think, anyways. So,
Yeah.
I think she should have had his head on a spike for that, but at the same time, she's like, all right, well, this guy does have one of my dragons, so I gotta, I don't know, bend to him a
Yeah.
bit, I guess. Anyways, so that was another complaint of mine with Rhaenyra, but I think at the end there with the scene with Alicent, she's showing like, all right, it's cool that you got your little revelation and you epiphany and everything, but I'm going to battle here, and season 3 you're about to see Rhaenyra the Cruel, as they tried to dub me prematurely. And I think that the White Worm also had a good influence on her in the fact that she was feeding her good intel and making her make good decisions strategically. Who I was not a fan of the White Worm whatsoever in season 1. I was a big fan of her in this season. I thought she rose up the ranks quite well. Like the dynamic with her and Rhaenyra as well. And yeah, so I think
Yeah.
Rhaenyra is going to do some good things. She better end up on the throne. I think she will, based on Daemon's vision. So, yeah, good things to come for her, and they ended strong. Like you, I was fired up when I saw her standing on the cliffs of a Dragonstone with her 3 dragons perched up. That was an unreal scene. And to your point of Aemond and Vhagar fending them off one by one, like you can't send one of these dragons 1-on-1 against Vhagar. It has to be a 3-on-1. It's the only way they're gonna take her down, right? So, I don't. No, that's not me saying I don't think they'll kill some of her dragons, but I do not think that they're gonna be like, all right, Vermithor, you're up. It's like, hey, Vermithor, Silverwing, Sea Smoke, let's go. Like you have to send a bunch against Vhagar, that old hag.
Yeah. Old but experienced, eh? Like been around since the beginning.
Yep.
Vermithor is titled the Bronze Fury, so maybe he could stand 1-on-1 for a bit. But Vhagar's bulk is impressive. Also, back to your point on Ulf, unforgivable, like the feet on the table, but also boasting that like Silverwing can take on. So you think Silverwing is invincible with that dragon, which isn't too far off, but he's not invincible compared to someone with a bigger dragon. And she has to play nice to him because he could go to the other side, like you said. Before we touch on Aemon, which there's a lot I want to say on Aemon, just quickly, the Aegon, like the scenes where Aegon's hurt with Larys, that whole storyline.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just give my thoughts quickly before I hear yours. I didn't mind those scenes because I kind of like Larys in this season in the sense that like he's the master of whispers. I like the whole political plays he's doing, or not even political yet, but just the little insights into how he's thinking. He's sympathizing with Aegon because he's a cripple now too. He's also a cripple. He says, nobody pays attention to you. That's your biggest advantage, is no one's going to take you seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of really like that scene where he talks to Aegon about that. Like it a lot. And then him whisking Aegon away from the Red Keep. That was really smart. Them running away, that was a really smart move. Have we seen the last of Aegon? I don't think so. I think we'll see that storyline again. I don't know if it's going to be to the extent of what Aegon thinks, right? Like Aegon coming back as Larys put him, like the Reconcilier or whatever the other monikers were, but I didn't mind those little scenes with Aegon and Larys, if I'm being frank. And what did you think of them, Eric?
Yeah, so I like the duo that they're setting up with these two, like the unlikely pair, the crippled, the brothers crippled. I think it's a bit of what you said of like Larys sympathize with him, but I also think it's more Larys thinks like, hey, I can manipulate this guy and get what I want with him. I think there definitely is an affinity there. Like he sees like, hey, we have this in common. But I also think it's like he realized that he cannot control Aemond. He got he got called an insufferable toad by Aemond at the notion that he thought he would be named the Hand. That was a hilarious scene. But you're right, Larys is definitely bringing back the old school Game of Thrones like Littlefinger Varys vibes. Like whenever he speaks, I find myself like wanting to pay attention, and like his delivery is like kind of creepy, but you know he's smart. He knows what he's talking about. Um, and even like with how he wants to withhold information from Eamon, like when the other guy, I forget his name, the master of coin, I think, hears about like that Rhaenyra has recruited dragon riders, and brings that information to Laris. Like, oh, what should I do? He's like, I don't know if you should bring that to Aemon. Like, you heard that third, fourth hand. Like, is it even credible? But
Yeah.
Laris knows. Like, oh yeah, that's legit. But he doesn't
Yeah.
want Aemon to have information. So I think it's a clear divide between him and Aemon. He thinks
Yeah.
Aegon can get him what he wants. And I do not think that Aegon is going to end up being the king again. Like, even Helena saying Aegon will win, not to like jump too much ahead to her, I think she means more like Aegon will outlive you. Like, you're dying and your brother's going to come. I don't know what's in store for Aegon, but I'm pretty sure it means more like Aegon is gonna win in this battle between you and him. Like, you tried to kill him, you failed, you're gonna die and he's gonna live, kind of thing. And that's another reason why I do
Right.
not think Helena is gonna join Aemon and fight. She does not want to fight for Aemon. She knows that
That's
he
true.
tried to kill him, and she's still loyal to Aegon. So maybe they end up getting her dragon. Like, I could definitely see Aemon being like, hey, you know what? You don't want to fly out. Well, we'll get whoever. Like, I don't know who does Eamon have friends. Like, I don't think so. I don't think he's the most popular guy out there. So
Yeah.
there's maybe a way to get that dragon involved, which apparently is a massive dragon too, Dreamfire. So we'll
Yeah.
see. But I do not think it'll be Helena riding that dragon. Yeah, I don't know. I think
Okay.
we'll get Aegon and Laris next season, because they have like Aegon was a great character this season. I found him hilarious, and like you kind of feel bad for him now that he's like burnt to a crisp. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can get to your boy Eamon
Okay.
now if you want.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm not gonna lie, he became in the later half of the season became one of my favorite characters on the show. In
Like,
terms
he
of
was
I'm
already
not-
that. You're always an Eamon
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. I'm not rooting for him to win. I just like seeing him on screen. We cheer for the bad guys on this pod. Everyone knows that. I loved seeing him like be the leader, be the boss, have power, telling Laris that you're where my brother's hand. I need my own hand. Like, that was awesome. Like, and he is cunning and fearsome in battle. We've seen in episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
He's smart. Like, he freaking wheels Vagar 180 degrees, like turns her around because he knows he's freaking not going to win that fight. That was cool. He's decisive. He's got good decisiveness and control for now. I mean, he's super fear. That's how he's ruling right now. And I can't wait to see what the future seasons hold in store for him in terms of just seeing cool action and violence on screen. Like we talked about in the mid-season recap, we get a little less of him at the beginning, you know, just the brothel scenes, but then really like episode 4 and on, like he's carrying the greens, you know, that he's the only reason like they're still relevant, him and his dragon. And I liked all the scenes with him, Eric, I'm not gonna lie. I wish we could see more of Aemon than the other storylines. Yeah, that's my thought on Eamon. Big Eamon guy now, actually.
Yeah, great character. Like, he's obviously the Greens MVP for sure. He's their strongest player, and like him being king, it makes sense, right? Like, he was always the one who was more fit to rule than his brother. He speaks High Valyrian well. He's a tactician, a smart man, a good fighter. His ego though may be his downfall, in that like he thinks he's unbeatable, and he's like, oh, I would welcome a challenge for once from my uncle to come meet me in the field and try his best to beat me. I think Damon's gonna kill him. So I think it's his cockiness is gonna be his downfall. I thought for a while that it would actually be Aegon and Laris who, plotting together, get Aemon killed. Now it doesn't look like that's gonna be the case, since they're fleeing with their tails tucked between their legs to Essos. But I think it has to be Daemon kill Aemond. And I guess like that should segue us nicely to the Rook's Rest battle. Like, the best part of, in my opinion, the whole show so far, seasons 1 and 2. Aemon was a beast there. Didn't really see it coming that he would be involved in a battle there. I saw it coming that like Aegon was gonna fly out there when they kind of have him. The scenes were cutting back and forth between Chris and Cole, and then he was just alone drinking the wine, and you knew he was gonna do something stupid. And then Rhaenys going into battle, but then when we find out that Aemond is out there, that was worrisome. I knew like Rhaenys was gonna die at that point. Like it was, I didn't really see a scenario where Rhaenys could get out of there alive. And then when Aegon flew in, I thought he was gonna die as well. Rhaenys would kill him, and then Aemond would kill her. It played out kind of like that, except not really. It was Aemond who, as soon as we saw Aemond look up to the sky and realizing that his brother was flying into battle, and then slowed Vhagar down. I was like, no, stay down. Like, this fucking guy, like, lets his bro get killed and then swoop in to clean up the mess kind of thing. Ended up being even worse than that. He cooked his brother alive. So this guy is just like, and then there's an open-ended moment at the end of that episode where he's going in to pick up the dagger and he's sheathing his sword. Like, I think if Kristen Cole didn't roll up there, Aemond was gonna kill Aegon. Like that was my interpretation of the scene.
Yeah.
But amazing fighting sequence. I was gutted for Rhaenys. I was hoping that she could somehow, after getting some licks in on Vhagar, that they could flee back to Dragonstone and report that, hey, the king is down. I fought Aemond and Vhagar survived. But as soon as she turned her dragon around, like, the dragon looked back like, are we done here? It's like, we gotta go back in, and like, she's dead. It was so rough.
Yeah.
What did you think of that whole episode? Battle.
Not only, like you said, not only one of the best part of House of Dragons, but one of the best scenes ever in the Game of Thrones universe, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was superbly well shot. The shot of, like, when it's just Rhaenys and Aegon, but then, like, they show Vhagar and Aemond hiding in the grass, like, in the forest, that trap, that was awesome. That, like, huge chills of, like, excitement. The Aegon, yes, it was foreshadowed that he would do something stupid. I think the play would have been to kill Aegon in there and have Aemond be the next ruler. But I do like, it does set up having him survive. The scene where Aemond goes to see Aegon on his deathbed, like, every time I'm like, oh my God, is he going to poison him now? Is he going to put the pillow over his head? And no one would even question Aemond if that happened too. It'd be like, oh, he died in his sleep. I love the threats to his brother too, talking to him. Like, he was definitely, like, underlining, like, don't you effing say what happened. Like, we both know what happened, but you're not, like, Aegon was smart. He's like, I don't remember. I don't even know if that's the truth, but that was a smart thing to say, right? He'll never say what happened. He doesn't want, it's also an embarrassment to Aegon, right? So, but no, Aemond on Rook's Rest was just the MVP of that episode, and forced Rhaenyra to do the Dragon Rider audition thing, so that was cool. Man, I don't know. I think we, not that we're overhyping Vhagar, but I think she needs to be even more feared because, like, she is bigger than all the other dragons. A lot of the dragons are small, right? I saw a chart where it shows all the sizes. Yeah. Like, Daemon's dragon is like a little infant compared to Vhagar, and Rhaenyra's dragon as well, and Jace's dragon's even smaller. Like, honestly, the strongest dragons are manned by the bastards, which I'm a little worried about. Yeah. Now, I don't know what they're doing with Rhaena here, right? With the wild dragon. That was quick 2-3 scenes with that. We'll see more in season 3, but, like, these inexperienced dragon riders, like, I don't know how well they're going to fare, honestly, and they could all be wiped out easily, or the riders get killed and the dragon survives, so the dragon pretty much abandons the fight. Stuff like that could happen, right? Ulf could get murdered before even sitting on his dragon, and then the dragon's useless. I think that might be the play, right? Pick off the riders and forget about their dragons. Their dragons aren't going to battle without them, right? So, yeah, that just popped in my head right now, and I think that's the play for, Aemond in the game.
Spoken like a true Team Green guy. I think, I don't think it'll be the bastards who get to kill Aemond, because, again, they don't speak a lick of High Valyrian, right? How can they even command these things? Ulf is drunk driving on Silverwing. Like, it ain't going to be him, I'm telling you. So, I think it has to be Rhaenyra or Daemon at this point. Rhaena, her dragon, it didn't even look that big either. Like, that wild dragon in the Vale, like, it's a good ad for the Team Black, but I don't think that's going to be the one either. It'll be like I said, I think it's Damon Amond. I've always said that, and
Okay.
I'll say it one more time. But
Okay.
Amond, I don't think was the MVP of that episode. I think it was Renice. She went out like a boss. She it was an emotional death.
Hmm.
It was like I said, it was sad. She messed
Yeah.
up Sunfire too, and again, I didn't love watching that either. I don't know about you there, but watching the dragons claw at each other was pretty. It was sad almost, and even
Yeah.
seeing like her Maylease, her dragon's head chopped off. Like, who wants to see that? At the end of the day, like we want to see dragon action, but do we at the same time? It's pretty brutal. We know Kristen Cole doesn't want to see no dragon action. Dude is in having a midlife crisis out there after what he saw on the battlefield. I don't even want to talk about him, to be honest. But he actually proved to be, if we're just covering that battle, Rook's Rest, proved to be a strong military leader. So I'll give him some
Hmm.
props there, but that's about it. Sniffing Allison's handkerchief, like dude is
Yeah.
he's going down. I thought he'd be dead in episode 8, to be honest. I thought they'd get to Harrenhal and we'd see something there, but anyways, that's it for him. And Gawain is also dying at some point next
Yeah.
season. But no, Rhaenys crushed it there, like messed up Aegon, and then held her own against Aemond as well, with again a significantly smaller dragon to Vhagar. So like you're saying that we have to give Vhagar even more props. They don't really know to what extent Rhaenys did damage to Vhagar, but if you throw in a couple of
True.
dragons the same size as Maylease in there, like an Aemon, a Daemon and Rhaenyra 2-on-1, I like our odds against Vhagar. So, and at some point, Vhagar is gonna die. Like we can't. This old hag can't
Yeah.
just keep killing people and dragons without consequence here. So, like Helena said, Aemon's days are numbered, and can't wait to see it. But he's a good character to have around for at least one more season, right? So it would have been premature to have him killed in this season. It's confirmed that this is going to end at season 4, by the way. So
Oh, I did not know that.
yeah,
Well, then I think Eamon's definitely down in season 3. Like his downfall should be in season 3 and death, because that would be an epic episode, right? Like another dragon aerial fight with the death of Vhagar and Aemon. That'd be really cool to see. Just quickly, Christian Cole, super not relevant to the story in the last
No.
few episodes. Like we didn't even really need him there, and I wasn't sad about that either. I may have said I thought his character was interesting when we did the last time, but that's because we had more scenes with him. But in this, he was totally irrelevant in the last few episodes. Just a scene with him getting questioned by Sir Gawain, like, "Oh, you slept with my sister," blah blah blah. Threatens him, then they make peace. So yeah, wasted character, like a wasted scenes. Like we don't need to see any more of him except on the battlefield next season. Do you want to jump into what we think season 3 is gonna yield
Yeah.
for us, Eric, or do you?
That's all I had really for season 2 recap.
Okay.
Season 3, I want like way more action. Like first and foremost, I can do conversation and plot building, character development. I'm all in on that. But it's bringing back to what you said too, and I think I said it as well. This season had a lot of that build up, the dialogue and all that, but it just was a notch below Game of Thrones quality conversations. Like there wasn't a single time where I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so dialed into this conversation. This dialogue is razor sharp, back and forth is like Emmy award winning caliber." Like it really wasn't. There were some like Laris, I would say, had some of the sharper dialogue. Helena,
Yeah.
bless her soul, one of my favorite characters now. Whenever she's talking, I was dialed into it, especially the last episode. Like I loved her telling Aemond off. Okay, maybe favorite character's a stretch there, but I was definitely a fan of her this season. Otherwise, not a whole lot in terms of dialogue. So for season 3, I want big action, battles, deaths on both sides. I think Team Green is due for a big loss. I think that's Aemond or Cole, one of them. And ideally, I would like to see Rhaenyra end up on the throne at the end of season 3, and then maybe season 4 we get into some conflicts with her, like maybe inner camp as well. Other people vying for power, Daemon again, who knows? But that's kind of what I want to see. And my last prediction is, in the montage at the end of season 2, we saw a shot of the High Tower army coming in, and in the sky we saw a blue dragon that, and based on what I'm seeing online as well, is the other son, Allison's other son, Darian, which they talked about him in the last 3 episodes. I think he's going to be a player as well to help Team Green, who at this point only have Amond, who's a really formidable fighter, and Christian Cole. But in terms of dragons, adding that dragon in there for sure will be a big add. I think that's going to be a sick character. If they're open auditions right now, I might just fly over to London and see what I can make it happen here. Throw the blonde wig on. But yeah, that's someone to look for. Darian, I think is his name.
I did see that shot, and that did like hype me up for season 3. They did a good job with that final montage of getting the excitement back up, but it was a little too little, too late. Like, we gotta wait another 2 years now. What I would like to see in season 3 is not only big action scenes, but cool confrontational scenes where either like there's a death, like moments like basically like the Red Wedding or the Ned Stark moment at the end of season 1 of Game of Thrones, like cool, shocking twists of a character's fate, betrayals, backstabs, even revelation scenes where you're like, oh shit, like cool twists. That I would like to see more of. The writing is not as good as Game of Thrones. Let's be real. Like everything coming out of Tyrion's mouth was gold in that show, and as well as all the other characters. Here we only have maybe a couple of characters that have cool dialogue, but the rest is all like exposition, and it's not as interesting. Yeah. So maybe less of that in season 3 and more like actions speak louder than words type moments. And if there are words, it's like badassery, like kind of like Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, and like betrayals and stuff. That's what I'd like to see. I would like to see Rhaenyra come out on top. I feel like season 3 you have the Green versus Rhaenyra conflict, and then season 4 is like Rhaenyra versus, is she actually like a good ruler, and maybe even a Daemon versus Rhaenyra down the road. I don't know. I feel like Daemon is going to survive everything actually now. Or perish at the very end of the show. I don't know. I feel Rhaenyra and Daemon can't coexist together peacefully. Like there's always going to be something between them. That's what I think is going to happen. As far as the Green versus Rhaenyra sides, that has the potential to be an excellent season, Eric. Like the whole season is basically a military campaign. We don't need an hour and 20-minute long episodes. Like just make crisp, like firm up the pacing, the editing, make it like to the point. You can have a different little battle or skirmish every episode. You don't have to have dragon action every episode either. Just show us like something cool and keep our attention. We don't need like Fast and the Furious style, like just throw a bunch of action at us and no story. We still need some story, don't get me wrong, but definitely not an episode where it's just exposition dialogue and not, I want to say quote unquote boring, but like stuff that doesn't really matter in the end. Like advance the main storyline in season 3, please, and we will be happy.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, everything that came out of Tyrion's mouth was gold until he said, "And who has a better story than Bran the Broken?" And just shattered our dreams in that finale. But yeah. Tighten up the pace. It's gonna look so odd, I find, though, if like everything's going a mile a minute out here, and compared to this season where like literally nothing happened the whole season. When you look back at it, that ship was being worked on the whole season. It finally sailed out in the harbor, but there looks to be battles on multiple fronts out here. Like there's gonna be finally a naval battle, which we thought we'd maybe see in this season, with those god awful pirates out in Essos. What a horrible character. Like that admiral was an absolute joke of a character, and I can't believe they I don't know if you noticed, Matt, her teeth were so white. I could not look at them. It's like these pirates have the best goddamn dental care that you'd find even in Canada out here. I couldn't believe it. And they spent so much time going back there with freaking Jason Lannister, or whatever his name is, Tyson Lannister. It's like, it's going to end up where he gets her respect. Anyways, that was a complete waste of time again.
Oh, yeah. yeah.
So we're gonna see Corliss battle it out with them. We're gonna see some Harrenhal River Lords at the Trident action. Then we're gonna see Ariel. So I like what's to come in terms of action as well. But I want to see dragon on dragon action. Even though I just said I don't want to see it, I do. Like that's one of the main pulls of this show, and a critique of a lot of people this season is that we didn't get enough dragon this season. So hopefully we get to see a bit more of it in season 3. And then yeah, season 4 you end with, I don't know, like you said, Daemon versus Rhaenyra. I would hope at the same time though that he learned his lesson, that some, like after having his visions, like you think there'd be a bit more clarity and that he shouldn't want the throne anymore. But you never know, right? So
Yeah.
in that sense, I actually almost kind of wish that season 4 is when Rhaenyra gets the throne, and then we call it a day there, because
Yeah.
eventually, like, these are from books, right? And obviously,
Right.
like, you know that at some point all these characters are gonna die. I don't know if I want to see them all die. Like, I'd much rather just see this show end with like Rhaenyra wins and she's
Right.
the Daenerys is her descendant kind of thing. So that's kind of what I'm hoping happens, but who knows? Um, yeah, that'd be it. Like I said, I hope it's a more hype season overall. I'm still gonna be pumped when it comes the time for season 3, but it's just unfortunate that it ended on that kind of lackluster note. Especially like season 1 ended on a banger of
Yeah.
a note with Vagar
Yeah.
killing Lucerys and his dragon, and then Rhaenyra turns like,
Yeah.
let's freaking go. This really did not have that feel, other than the little montage of everyone gearing up for war. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so season 2 is gonna down like in the future. We're gonna look back on season 2 as a little like a sour note in the show. Hopefully 3 and 4 are bangers, and then
Yeah.
season 2 just gets dismissed as the weaker season. A couple things. I hope that they end on a high note too. End House of the Dragon with not Rhaenyra's downfall, just her like being victorious. But I can also see something with her kids, with Daemon coming back from like they were squirreled away, like they can come back older. There can be more flash forwards is what I'm fearing. I fear that like they shouldn't do that. They shouldn't age everybody just for the half of the last season or something and have them come into play. That could be its own show. I hope it ends the way you said, Eric. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just a question on the last episode. Were the Starks, was the North marching through the Frey's bridge, and why? Did I miss something when Jace was at talking to the Freys? Like, did he negotiate Northmen to come down? Or I was a little confused there, if I'm not going to lie. Like, do you recall anything about
So
that?
I forget if he said specifically my Northman homies are going to be walking down the bridge here, but he definitely negotiated passage for their allies to use those bridges, the twins I believe they're called. So
The twins,
that would
yeah.
be, maybe it was hinted at that it would be the Northmen. So actually that's someone I hope we get to see in season 3 as well. Kragan Stark, great one scene this whole season, like to start the season
Right.
off. I was fired up. They look like they'll be a solid tandem. Jace, man, he's gotta lighten up a little bit, or like just become more of a beauty, because he was kind of annoying this season at times. I found like
Yeah.
it was literally his idea to get bastards to ride dragons, and then when they arrive, he's like, "Oh, what are these simpletons doing riding dragons? They don't know our ways, mother! Like, get the hell out of here, guy. Which one is it?" So
Yeah.
hopefully he can be like I don't know, more of a obedient lieutenant to Rhaenyra and not be kind of this annoying child, because war is
Yes.
upon us now. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I got there. I want to see more Starks next season as well. And yeah, as far as time
Absolutely.
jumps go, like only maybe if it ends in season 3 where Rhaenyra wins the throne, and then season 4 they want to do time jumps, sure. But I don't want to see any time jumps until the throne is won. If they want to show what
Okay.
happens with her kids, kind of thing. Ideally, no time jumps though, really, at this point, because now they're doing just 4 seasons. They're for sure not going to show us the Robert's Rebellion stuff. Like, that would make no sense the way
Yeah.
we had talked about last episode. So, call it there. And yeah, that's all I kind of had for this show, to be honest. If you want to spin over to the other shows, or do you have anything else you want to go over?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay.
What do you got for other shows?
So the one that's coming out next year, is A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. So it's the story of Sir Duncan the Tall and his squire Egg. So
Hmm.
that's confirmed next year. I think it'll probably be like in the fall, I would assume. So that's more following an age after the dragons are dead, I believe, as well. And the Targaryens are still the ruling dynasty. I don't know which faction, but it's after House of the Dragon.
Cool.
So we'll see. I think him, like, I've read the book actually. So it's three stories. This knight and
Okay.
his squire, they go around Westeros, and I think Essos too, just like participating in like jousting tournaments or doing little side quests for a village that is being harassed by brigands and stuff. So I think this is just gonna be like a one season thing, or maybe we get like 3 episode mini arcs of that ilk. So I mean,
Okay.
I don't have the highest expectations for it. It has the potential to surprise, but not really the one that I'm most excited for of what they could do. Do you have any thoughts on like what that could look like, and if you're interested in that?
I am interested in the fact that I know nothing about it, and what would be cool is if this show emerged as like a hidden gem, like an Andor
No.
for the Star Wars TV shows. It has the potential to be that, just because the expectations are so low. What I would also like to see on this show would be have follow Sir Duncan and make it about him, but have like the political stuff in the background. So we're following kind of the Targaryen dynasty through people's through the dialogue, just people offshoot, like mentioning it casually, like, oh, this person's the ruler now, or this that we're gearing up for this, or they mention rebellion. Like, have maybe some cool political background stuff happening around Sir Duncan, but have him be the focus. But we're knowing what's happening in Westeros in the show, just with all the side stuff we see.
Yeah, I would like to see that as well,
I think that'd
honestly.
be a cool idea, cool thing to do. Not sure if Sir Duncan's during the time of like Robert's Rebellion or Eris. Go ahead.
Sorry. I think it's before all of that. I believe it's Eris is either extremely young or he's not even born, to be honest. So yeah, it would be we'd
Okay.
see familiar names. I agree. They should throw in some political landscape morsels, if you will, as far as what the Targaryens are doing. They actually just casted someone as one of the Targaryens in there. I saw that on Twitter yesterday. So they either participate in like some of the jousting or just overseeing the tournaments and stuff. So we'll definitely get our fair
Hmm.
share of Targaryens in there. But I don't know if there's gonna be any like war happening at the same time. It might be
Okay.
a peaceful era here as well. So we'll see.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Could be a hidden gem. I mean, it's Game of Thrones. Like I think the HBO quality always top notch. Hopefully they give us some good action in this one, and because I don't think this one going into it, like we cannot expect the same kind of political intrigue with our main character anyways that we do with ours in Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. I think this will be more action adventure centric, maybe even buddy comedy, because I think that's kind of the vibe between this squire he's very young but like is wise beyond his years, and then Sir Duncan the
Right.
Tall I think is kind of a shit for brains mutant who's just like great at carnival competitions kind of thing.
Right.
So could be interesting to see. What I would
Yeah,
be
it's like
interested.
Game of
Go ahead, go ahead.
Thrones. I was just gonna say, like, Game of Thrones through the eyes of a commoner, a normal person,
Yes.
and not like the freaking people ruling it. So yeah, that sounds great actually. So yeah, go ahead, Eric. Sorry to interrupt.
No, no, it's okay. I mean, what I would prefer to see at this point is again, I'm liking the dragon content. Like I want to see some old Valyria or
Oh,
conquest of Aegon the Conqueror. So him coming over to Westeros and establishing their dominance here. Like the first Targaryens coming over, which I feel like is something they could have done in House of the Dragon, right? Because this is based on a book that I have with me. I'm kind of debating reading the book, to be honest. That
oh,
starts off with Aegon's conquest, and then leads all the way up to well past House of the Dragon. So I looked through the book really quickly. It's like the first 200 pages are the Aegon conquest, and then there's like a good 200 for the House of the Dragon show. So I don't know. I'm debating if I want to just rip through this book or wait and then be surprised when the show comes out. I don't know. I read the Game of Thrones books before I watched the show, so it wouldn't necessarily
True.
be different there in that I knew what was coming, but I still enjoyed it week to week. We'll see. But yeah, all that to say, Aegon's conquest and then spending some time in Essos, Old Valyria would be something I would like to see. And the White Walk, like more Northman stuff. Except I don't want to see a Jon Snow show. Like, I don't really want them to go with him specifically. If they go north, give me old school North.
Yes. Well said, Eric. They could even do before Aegon's conquest, like a show in Westeros before that. But my number one desire would be Aegon's dominance over Westeros. The problem is it's already it's predictable. Like we know Aegon conquers Westeros and wins. Mm-hmm. When a show does that, when we know the outcome, then you have to create minor rifts between characters and other not have Aegon be in conflict with anyone because we know he's going to win, but have conflict with other side characters and not knowing if they're going to live or die. That could be cool. We definitely guarantee the best dragon action we've seen in terms of, there wouldn't be any dragons fighting Aegon, but there'd be humans fighting dragons, and maybe humans that have superpower. Maybe Westeros is super, they're united against Aegon, so we'd see freaking Aegon trying to fight huge armies off, and the dragon can't be everywhere burning everyone, or can he? I don't know. It'd be cool to watch. I'd love to see a Robert's Rebellion mini-series, one season, 6 episodes. We already know every little detail on that, so it would just be visually to see it. I don't think they'll do that though, because it's been talked about to death. Even in Game of Thrones, they mention it a lot, and we even see some flashbacks. So I don't think we're gonna get that. I'm honestly, I like the Sir Duncan route, the common man's journey in the universe. So maybe we'll get another one of that. Old Valyria, I know nothing about. That would be cool to see. Different part of the world. We only know it's in ruins now. Mm-hmm. We know what happened, the doom of Valyria, but we don't know the height of its power when it was all pristine and such, right? It'd be the height of the Roman Empire, the height of the Valyrian and Targaryen dominance, so that would be cool to watch. I'd be excited for any Game of Thrones content, honestly, Eric. Doesn't matter what it is. It's such a cool universe, so even House of Dragons, I still enjoyed watching every week. I wasn't bored. I watched every episode. Nothing was boring for me, and I wasn't looking at my watch or anything. It's not as good a quality as Game of Thrones. That's all.
Yeah, I would agree. And in terms of other shows too, there'd be why not go in? I said no Jon Snow show, but why not go in the future and see how's Bran the Broken doing? How's the day to day out there? Yeah. How's Samwell Tarly keeping up with history and making sure everyone's has access to the same education across Westeros, right? So there's definitely potential for conflict to arise in Westeros post Game of Thrones, A Song of Fire and Ice, right? So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing something like that. Bran is old as hell now, and who knows? There's a tribe of pirates or something that have come up, or maybe the Starks now want the Seven Kingdoms. I don't know. So there's definitely potential for them to do something off script from what George R.R. Martin's already written up, but maybe everything has to go through him. He's absolutely not. We're not doing this. Sansa wants to rule the Seven Kingdoms route, right? So who knows? But yeah, I'll always tune in for GOT. It's one of my favorite worlds, and House of the Dragon Season 3 pumped forward at the end of the day, and like you said, the common man's plight in Sir Duncan the Tall. Let's go. I'll be fired up when that rolls around too. Yeah. So yes, that's all
Just
for...
last thing.
Go ahead.
I just have one last thing. It might be the worst idea or a stroke of genius. You let me know quickly. Game of Thrones, a lot of shows will come out in the next 10 years, and they're all going to be crap for some reason. Let's just imagine a world where they're not rated highly. But then in 30 years or 20 years, all the original Game of Thrones actors will have aged to what their characters would be 20 years later, and then they make a show, Game of Thrones, 20 or 30 years later, and then all the actors reprise their roles. A lot of them won't be with us, sadly, but Bran will be much older and all of them, and then it'd be a show about something catastrophic that happens, like giant wars or invasions. So it'd be like Game of Thrones 30 years later, same cast. All the players are back, but they're like their older selves. Would that be cool, or is that a dumb idea?
No, it's not a dumb idea. I mean, it kind of goes with what I was saying in that, like, of the future of Game of Thrones after
Yeah.
Bran's rule, but literally having them be the characters. I didn't think of that specifically. I mean, I'd like to see some of them. Like, the thing with that is that the characters that make it out, I don't care for that much. Like, let's roll the
right.
tape. How much do we want to see like a Davos, a Sam, Bran, a Grey Worm, fuck, like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not left with the great characters anymore, where we would almost have to like just age them up, new actors, and then it's like, here's some new characters that we will care about a bit more. Like, the only one I actually would like to see is like Arya, Maisie Williams, but again, does she want to come back to play that character? And does she we've known and loved her as a child actress. Like, will she still have that same spunk as the adult?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just my thought on that off the rip. But it's like seeing Harry Potter again down the line. Like, we would roll up, and like, I would definitely be there to see these characters. Like, it would be a new spin on them. They're older, wiser, act a bit different. There still would be these new characters that I just talked about that would need to be introduced anyways. It wouldn't all be on their shoulders, and they'd be like the wiser generation working with the newer one, the younger generation. It would be great to see, honestly. Now I'm just talking myself back into it. But I just, initial thought was like those characters, you know what I mean? Brienne of Tarth. Yeah.
Could be good.
It could be good.
Jon, Sansa.
It'd be like Star Wars.
Tyrion.
It'd be like the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker crew. Like, Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Let's focus on Force Awakens.
Force Awakens.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. I'm just curious to know.
No. It's you're onto something, honestly. I had to just talk it out a bit more, but could be good. The Night King's son. Anyways. Yeah, I mean, whatever they roll out, we'll be there to watch for. That's one of the main reasons people still have Crave HBO, so good stuff. Anything that you want to recommend, Matt, that you've been watching, listening to, reading, anything?
Yeah, for sure. Just quickly, I know you've seen Deadpool. I've seen Deadpool. Want to save that for longer discussion?
Sure. I mean, the thing is with Deadpool is I don't know when we'll talk about it. Like, I don't know if we're going to do a Marvel episode this year. There's been nothing out. You know what I mean? Like,
no, you're right.
There's Agatha, Coven of Chaos. Okay. Yeah. If you want to save it, we can talk about it
Deadpool for like 2030.
Okay, yeah, so we can save it
I
for
feel like Deadpool could be, okay.
You liked it, though?
Yeah, I did like it, but I have lots to say on it. Like, I read your review. We're on the same camp. We're on the same boat here. So, but I'm going to talk about another movie. I'm going to talk about A Quiet Place Day One. This is the third movie in the trilogy, and it has no business being this good for a third one. It was really good. It was good because Lupita, what's her last name? I always forget.
Lupita Nyong'o. Yep.
Nyong'o. Lupita Nyong'o is an amazing actress and held my attention the whole movie. There's barely any dialogue, barely any characters, but she's great in it. As is Eddie Munson from Stranger Things season 4. Like, this guy's like coming up in the world. He's starring in a lot of big movies now. He was also in Game of Thrones actually when he was younger. Fun fact: he was like a guard at Winterfell. Anyway, they were great in it. Not super over the top movie. Like, it's very. I was gonna say quiet, but it's very low key, not like big set pieces. But that's what I liked about it. Minimalistic, simple, terror, suspense. That's all I needed out of this movie. It ripped by. Quiet Place Day One. It's a really good movie. If you've liked the first two, this one's right up there with the in terms of quality. It was really good. kind of underrated, actually. I don't think a lot of people are going to watch it, but it was good.
Okay, interesting. Because yeah, I liked 1 and 2. It is interesting that I've kind of just been looking at like, all right, what's playing in theaters? Twisters, in A Quiet Place Part Two, like, Day One. I mean, for some reason, there's both those are like not really captivating me and making me want to go see them in theaters. I feel like they're just not, especially
Right.
Quiet Place. I feel like not being talked about all that much. Maybe there's fatigue on that concept, which was really cool in the first
Mhm.
one, and then the second one was like, all right, this is pretty good, and now there's another one. Like with all these movies, like The
Yeah.
Purge, um, whatever. That's the only example I have off the top here, but people, it's the novelty wears off. But good to know that you liked it, and I'll don't know if I'll see it in theater, but I'll definitely give it a spin to see. Yeah, Joseph Quinn. He's been popping off these days. Like gonna be in the next Fantastic Four movie. Gladiator 2, like getting killed off from a show as a beloved character is the best thing that can happen to you. Like Pedro Pascal in Game of
Right.
Thrones.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, get right on.
Yeah, I forgot about Fantastic Four. Yeah, forgot about that.
Nice.
Nice.
Movies for me, have not been watching many new movies at all. It's all been like reruns. I rewatch all the Deadpool movies, great stuff. Would recommend if it's been a while. I'd forgotten about a lot that happens in both of them. They
Okay.
actually the original actor who plays Dario Naharis in Game of Thrones is the villain in Deadpool 1, so it was nice to see him in there as Francis.
That's right.
Ajax, I
That's right.
believe was his name. So recommend those, but I'm gonna recommend a show on if you have Apple TV, Presumed Innocent, starring Jake Gyllenhaal. It's an Apple TV series,
Oh.
courtroom drama where he gets accused of murdering his colleague and who they both worked as lawyers at the district attorney's office. So he gets accused of murdering her. It's a very public trial. There's a lot of intrigue, twists, and turns along the way. I believe it's based on a book, based on a movie that's based on a book, and the movie's starring Harrison Ford out in the 1990s. So apparently the movie's
Yeah.
pretty solid, but I love this show. Like Apple TV just pumping out content with A-listers, and these shows don't really get talked about a whole lot. But I'd heard about this one from a few people. They really enjoyed it, and it only gets better as you go along. I found the ending was great, which you never really know with these kind of courtroom mystery drama shows. Like, how are they going to wrap this up? It was great. Not funny whatsoever. Then, and you know me, I need a bit of a comedy in these kind of serious movies or shows. I don't even know if I laughed once, to be honest. But regardless, I was captivated the whole time. It's maybe a slow start, but I was still really just wanted to find out what happened in here, who killed this character. Was it Jake Gyllenhaal? I don't know. They keep you guessing the whole time. Great, great
Yeah.
show. Would recommend. It's, like I said, Presumed Innocent on Apple TV. Check it out.
Man, Apple is the place to go for the hidden gem shows because
Mm,
I'm hearing nothing but good things about Apple, and I might have to dump one of the existing services now and get Apple because I've heard of good shows like what's it called, Blackbird, I think, with Taron Egerton. I heard that's fantastic, and that's
mm.
on Apple TV. And this show, I saw a trailer for, like a commercial for that popped up when I was watching sports, and Jake Gyllenhaal immediately had my interest. And then I've seen the Harrison Ford movie. Like, it was a really good movie, Eric, and
Okay, nice.
I was shocked that I still remember the ending. It's shocking when you find out what happened. But the show would be closer to the book because they're going to expand on things, right? The movie's 2 hours, 2.5 hours. This, we're getting, what, 6, 8 episodes on this whole case. So that's going to be cool to watch. Like I said, Jake Gyllenhaal, I'll watch anything with him. So I'll add it to my list, Eric. Like, this is something I should be watching for end of the year, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's a nice like
Okay.
2024 top 10
Okay.
contender, I'd say. Like don't go into it thinking
Okay.
like, oh, this is my number one, but it's like a very
No,
good
no.
show. It's shades
Gotcha.
of Lou Bloom in here. We got a bit of Roadhouse, even some Rage.
Okay.
It's a nuanced performance from Jakey G. So would recommend.
All right.
Yeah, Apple
Sweet.
TV, they got a couple of big
Oh,
shows coming like for 2024, like Silo season 2, Severance season 2.
Severance, that's another one. Yeah. That's another show I'm supposed to watch.
Yeah.
You want me to throw in another movie?
Sure, yeah, go for it.
Okay, well, I have a couple left. I'll just say them at the same time because I won't talk about this one too long. But I rewatched because Mackenzie had never seen it, and we were looking for something to watch, and she hasn't seen a lot of like quote unquote like movie like okay. Anyways, Christopher Nolan. She hadn't seen The Prestige.
Mm.
The Prestige, which is a movie you don't think of when you think Christopher Nolan, right? But it's a really we were on a Hugh Jackman kick. Not gonna lie, like we watched Deadpool, we watched Logan. I'm like, let's keep the Hugh Jackman thing going. Let's
Nice.
watch The Prestige. And she loved it. I loved it. I love that movie. I've seen it so many times. It's it's long, but the pace is really great, and there's never a dull moment. And of course, the twists and turns at the end she didn't see coming. The whole movie, I'm like, there's something you need to start figuring out, but she couldn't solve it by the end. Really good performances, really cool world. I don't know if you love the movie too, Eric. I know, like we talked about it on the Nolan pod, but that was so long ago. Like, what are your
Mm.
thoughts, just
Yeah, I mean,
quickly?
I watched it for that episode, which was last year. I really loved it. Like, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. How, yeah, it kept me captivated the whole time. Nice mystery element to it. I want to say they start with like some stuff that happens at the end as well. So they're like,
Yeah,
all right, well, this is gonna happen to one of our characters, and then they build up to it, and then yeah, no, there's some good twists along the way. Very, very good movie. Great performances from
yeah.
Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman. Very good stuff.
Um, Amazing
It's on
performances.
Disney
Shows you
Plus.
how like Hugh Jackman's not just. Yes, it is. Hugh Jackman's not just a one-trick pony either,
Mm-hmm.
so he can act, not just play Wolverine. And Logan too. Logan's a masterpiece. That's all I'm gonna say on that. We both loved it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, the movie I want to talk about. The movie I want to talk about is the third in the X and Pearl trilogy. The movie Maxine. I've talked about X and Pearl a lot on this podcast. Is like making my top list for the end of the year. My favorite horror films in the last few years. The third movie came out simply titled Maxine, starring Mia Goth. But this movie has other good actors in it, like Kevin Bacon, Lily Collins, several like known names, not just like random, more known names in Hollywood. Anyways, Maxine ultimately disappointed me in terms of quality compared to X and Pearl. Like I felt like this one fell flat compared to the first two. And I'm not going to go into details because I think you should watch this eventually. But the third act of the movie falls apart for me, and to me that is unforgivable for any movie. An ending has to makes or break the movie, in my opinion. I can forgive a bad middle. I can forgive a bad beginning. I can't forgive a weak third act. It's unforgivable. Sadly, this movie was a little on the weak side in the third act. Therefore, I think it's a big letdown compared to the first two in the trilogy. This movie's got a cool setting, Hollywood setting in the 80s, cool soundtrack, good acting, but it's the problems with the story that I had. Had problems with the story, has some good kills. Not excessively a crazy horror movie, though, Eric. More of an investigation, murder mystery type thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd still call it a horror movie, but like I can argue the case for it's just like a film noir detective movie type thing. It's a very big homage to film noir and mystery thrillers. The movie Maxine is so. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you'd like it. Maybe you'll like it more than me. But it's definitely a movie you need to watch just to close out the trilogy. So yeah, Maxine was good, guys, but not as didn't. There was so much hype for it in my head, and it didn't. It didn't pan out for me.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Godfather 3 and I've seen 1 and 2, so if I'm not in a rush to finish that trilogy, I don't know if I'll be jumping to see Maxine right away because I've also heard, like, the consensus I've heard from people is that, like, this is a letdown. And
Yeah,
it's all been that third act bad. So I was excited for this too. I really enjoyed X and Pearl. I thought those were great movies. But I will say, I think those movies would be even better if they did not have the slasher element to them. And maybe you're going to be screaming at the screen right now like you want to log off this call right away with me. We're done here. But I think that the stories that were in both those movies I found were super interesting until she just goes off the hook and starts killing people. And again, I didn't mind it. Like I thought the kills were good, especially in X more than Pearl. I want to say I enjoyed them. They're better there. But I like the story of her wanting to become an actress and in Pearl, and then in X it was like the porn industry, like they're making this movie. Like it was interesting to
Hmm.
follow along, and I loved how both those movies were filmed. It just the movie took a turn at like second half, at the second half or something like that. And I guess Maxine is a similar story, and it's a much worse turn in this one. So it's too bad, man. I was pumped for Maxine, to be honest. Like I thought Mia Goth, like she was great in both these movies. She probably is still great in Maxine, but maybe I guess Ty West got lost in the sauce out there or something. I don't know. It's too bad. I was hoping you would like it though, but I'd seen like all the other people were kind of let down by it, so I was curious to see what you'd think.
Yeah. Ty West has had a lot of misses in his career, so it's almost like he's had 2 hits and now he's back to his old self. Kind of like, oh, you couldn't like close it out.
Mm-hmm.
His career has a lot of ups and downs in it. That's all I'll say on that. So, yeah, that's all I have to recommend. Just those 3 movies. I have watched more, but like, there's no point going on and on.
Okay.
Follow me on Letterboxd if you want to know what I think of some movies I watched.
Yeah, man, you let us know what you think of it. I'm still waiting for that elusive review. I'm waiting to give that a
I
like.
meant like the rating. Just meant the rating. Like, see if I liked it or not. I get writer's block, man. I'm get too scared.
It's hard. I just don't overthink it now. Like I used to edit what I write now. Say whatever I write, first go, just send. Even if there's mistakes in it, I don't care.
Okay.
It's my motto with emails at work as well. But so for
Yeah.
the last thing I'll recommend is just a couple of albums. I find like the hip hop albums are starting to fly now. Like I'm getting way back into it. Two I'll just let rip. Um, JPEG Mafia, I lay my life down for you, something like that. I'll just pull up the name. I lay down my life for you. Close enough. Weird album, honestly. It starts off very strange. I Scream This in the Mirror is the name of the first song. It's kind of aggressive, but once you get into the album, there's some great music in here, and it only gets better like towards the end of it. Like his production is unreal. There's some good samples in here, stuff you'll recognize from like Wu-Tang Clan and stuff, and he's a pretty good rapper, honestly. So this came at a welcome time where I was needing some new hardcore rap, and JPEG delivered there. So that's one. And then one more I'll just let fly. Michael and the Mighty Midnight Revival. Songs for Sinners and Saints by Killer Mike. Great album. So I'm surprised that Killer Mike dropped another album this year after he dropped Michael, which was a Grammy winning album last year. And a lot of the songs on here are kind of remixes to songs on Michael, so you'll recognize some of the beats, the song structures, but with a spin. And he did a great job on here. Great lyrics, hardcore songs, good features. Like I was a big fan of this one. Completely different from the JPEG Mafia one. So just Google Killer Mike. I'm not gonna repeat that album name. It's like 100 words long. But yeah. So those are the two I would recommend.
I did check out the Killer Mike album. I really enjoyed it actually a lot. Only listened to it once too. The JPEG one, I saw it came out, never listened to it, so I will be listening. I'm gonna check it out. The one last year was pretty solid, so.
Yep.
Scaring the Hose, I think, so that was pretty solid. So I'll check out this one.
Awesome.
Thanks for reminding me. Honestly, I forgot about it already. I wrote it down. Yeah.
All right, but yeah, that's all I got.
That's all I have.
Okay, beauty. So yeah, Matt, great fun going over the House of the Dragon show once and for all. I don't know if maybe it'll come up in our year-end top 10s. We'll see, but I don't think we'll be talking about Game of Thrones shows for a while until we get the next one, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Any final notes for the listeners?
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Hope you enjoyed our House of the Dragon finale episode, season 2. Next episode, it's House of the Saloon. Full rundown of Eric's wedding and such. No, just joking, but well, you never know. Anyways, thank you, everybody. Hope you're enjoying summer right now, and thanks for listening to the podcast.
I mean, we've got some stories we could share on here for sure. So yeah, thanks a lot, everybody, for listening. Stay tuned for episodes dropping every 2 Mondays. Continue to enjoy your summer. Love you all, and yeah, peace.